we're going to chant the full moon ceremony today. So I wanted to talk about that, and the name of this talk is The Full Moon Ceremony and 3 Gold Bars. Okay. I'd like to speak today about a little bit about the full moon ceremony. Back in 2004, I had my art show at CSUN for a master's degree, and it was based on the idea of the many potentials we have in all of us, and what we need to do to bring it to the surface and make it available to us. All we have to do is meditate. Now, meditation isn't something special. It's just a time of 5, 10, 20, or 40 minutes in which you allow your interior to change and move and flow without interfering in it with your brain. When I had my art show in CSUN to complete the degree, the meaning of the show was to list and put out all the potentials that we possess within ourselves from birth. So all of these paintings were the show itself. The show was set up with 15 tall door-sized paintings set up in a square with an opening leading into it. Above it was a 6-foot square of the white painting, which is over there, observing all of it from above. And the opening where people went into it to see it had 2 paintings facing inward on the same stand and 2 paintings facing outward. The outward paintings were the goddess Choten, who is this one over here, and she protects all youth, especially children everywhere. And she also protects those who are young in spirit, like beginner's mind. On the other side of the entrance was another goddess who protects us and represents the many women who have come to our...
It's obvious to me that I'm in any position. Sorry.
That's okay. And represents the many women who have come to our aid in life throughout our life. And outside the door was a small black painting of the black dragon, which is up there. And that was there just for good luck. Inside the square were 12 potentials of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that we share in the energies of. In the full moon ceremony, we chant to the many Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in which we are all connected as potentials in our lives. So the full moon ceremony is an invocation to begin to draw up these potentials into our practice, daily practice, and let them change us as we change in ordinary life. Then we continue with the specific bodhisattvas, such as Maitreya Bodhisattva, the future Buddha, and we then invoke Manjusri Bodhisattva, who we honor in this zendo on the altar here. Manjusri Bodhisattva is often shown as a young man sitting on a lion with a sword in his hand and a flower. And in our statue, he is sitting on the lion listening to the lion's roar of enlightenment. And I think he is very purposeful in the practice in his life. Call him up with strong attention and vigor when you chant his name. The next bodhisattva we chant and invoke is Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, the shining practice bodhisattva, or the enlightened activity bodhisattva. And this is followed by Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, who, as we already know, is compassion. And who doesn't want to open their compassion? So chant this bodhisattva with vigor as well. Call up your own compassion with your own strength. Then we call up the ancestors of our line everywhere and everyone from that time to the present. And this is a lot of help to put into our lives, so try to invoke them all with as much presence of mind and strength as you can call up. The first one in chanting, after we finish invoking Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, then we begin the practice of how to invoke and bring them into our lives. The first one is chanting the 4 vows of Buddha. And now we don't have to realize the 4 vows because we said them, and we have to leave them in our lives, and we probably won't realize them in our lives until many years later, kind of like waiting for things to grow up like the lotus in the pond, which has to take time to come up through the muddy water and then come above the water. So it takes a long time in our lives. Even when we're chanting the 4 vows of Buddha, it's a lifetime practice until we begin to actualize them in our lives. Body, speech, and mind, however, are the main things we work with in our daily life. If you went to a casino and you worked with the slot machine, usually you get 3 cherries, 3 lemons, or something like that. And occasionally you might get a gold bar. So we have to practice with our body, our speech, and our mind and bring them into line and refine all 3 of them so that they don't only cause us obstructions. The minute we get rid of the obstacles by working with them, we can begin to realize some of the pleasures of our life and practice. So we have to work for a long time to discipline our speech, our thoughts, and to discipline our actions. But even if we are invoking all of the bodhisattvas and Buddhas that we spoke about, and we are trying to bring about the threads of help that we can use in our lives. So when you have a chance to do the full moon ceremony, be sure to chant the Buddha's names and Bodhisattva's names with as much energy and spirit as you can do. But don't be discouraged if things don't go well, even when you chant the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Don't get discouraged even when we can't chant this invocation ceremony well. What we do know is that when we do it, we mouth the words and then we bow. And what we do know is that when we do it, we mouth the words as we bow. As we bow, we hear the chanting of everyone else and we listen with respect. And somewhere the first gold bar comes up. We don't know how it happens, but I think we can count on the fact that Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are helping us. Perhaps they're even chanting for us, knowing how difficult it is even to do that. Anyway, don't get discouraged when things are good or not good. Don't think about either one. And if you manage to stay off meandering in your thoughts about whether you're doing it well or not well, if you can stay off those thoughts, the second gold bar will come up. As you know, if you get 3 gold bars then in a slot machine, that's a jackpot. But our jackpot isn't money or gold. Our jackpot is powerful practice. But even if you're having trouble chanting, say to yourself, Buddha, please chant for me. Please continue to wait for us. Please continue to be here for us, even if my practice is much less than a gold bar. somewhere, somehow, a third gold bar will come up when we least expect it if we continue to practice, good or bad. So don't give up when things aren't going well. And just believe that all the things you do, good or bad, will count in your favor. Wait just a minute. I seem to have lost my page here. In order to read these, I made them 20. The font was 20. So there's a lot of pages, but unfortunately, they didn't count them.
You can't find one handy. Well, that is easy.
Maybe it's in, I'm not sure. Just a minute. I got this, is okay. I'm sorry, it's a bit scrabbled. Okay, the next bodhisattva we invoke, we've already said this. Anyway, we call up the ancestors of our line everywhere and ask for their help. And I believe that the bodhisattvas and Buddhas will chant for us when we chant badly. That we can't waste a good or a bad chant. No matter how we do it, we are invoking their presence in our lives. We're invoking their strength. So we can't get discouraged when things don't go well, and we shouldn't get discouraged even when we don't chant the invocation ceremony well. What we do know is that when we mouth it, the words, we bow, we listen with respect, and then another gold bar comes up. And we don't know how it happens, but I think we can count on the fact that Buddhists and Bodhisattvas will help us, because they will even chant with us knowing how difficult it is for us to even get into it. And they decide to just do it for us and help us out here. But anyway, don't get discouraged by whether they are good or not good, but do them anyway, because there is a gold bar waiting somewhere when you do it, even badly. And we have to be very careful trying to get the third gold bar up, because we can start clinging. So just throw away all thoughts about the third gold bar and just chant without any expectation. Even when it's bad, it's maybe easier to do it that way. Anyway, so we learn to be very patient, waiting for a third gold bar to come up, which in our lives will help us to begin to practice completely involved and open. Even if our practice is much less than a gold bar, somewhere, somehow, the third gold bar will come up in our practice when we least expect it. So don't give up when things aren't going well. Just believe that all things you do, good or bad, will count in your favor, because at the heart of what you're doing, good or bad, you probably have a grateful heart filled with compassion and love. You just have to recognize it and then accept that recognition in your life to bring it to life. Thank you. I'm sorry, this was a garbled talk today. Thank you. If you understood any of it, please ask me a question, if you have any questions. Mike?
I don't know if I've got a question, but I just love the comparison between the bodhisattva, the full moon ceremony, and gambling in a casino. It's an interesting combination.
It's the only way I can explain what it means by 3 gold bars. Yeah, it is. No matter where you are, no matter how bad or good you chant, it's good to do it anyway, because even done badly, the words mouth in your heart, they come through in your lives, whether you like it or not. They will
Practice,
have potent effect in your life.
practice makes perfect.
Yeah, it's like that. But I had a lot of trouble chanting when I was first getting into practice. And I was given a practice by Mrs. Chiba, our teacher then. And she had me chanting a mantra for Avalokiteshvara, which was very simple, but I couldn't do it because my mind kept wandering to other things so badly that even for a one-line mantra, I kept losing track of where I was. And I started to quit because I thought, well, there's no point in doing it badly. But somewhere I thought, no, actually, that's not true. It's better to do it badly than to not do it at all. And so I started to chant it anyway, badly, drifting, struggling to keep my mind on the sentence. And I never did get to the point where I felt I did it well. But my mind changed to think that, if the Buddhas are expecting us to do things well, I think we're chanting and invoking the wrong beings. So and then I just started to do it without worrying about it at all. So I think we set up a template in our lives of practice, whether we do it well or good, it doesn't matter. The fact that it's there at all is the important thing.
Okay.
Mark?
Mark?
Well, what immediately came to mind was a Dharma slot machine where we pull the handle and everything starts spinning around. I could actually see that in my mind, and I think that would be a wonderful thing to draw up. But it's, even if you talk about our younger generations are into video games, this would lend itself to quite a video game. But then we have the problem of the goal. We're playing to defeat things, and we're playing to win that gold bar. So I think you're just against that. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, the thing is, don't even think about it at all. If when you're doing the slot machine, you don't even think about it. You just pull the lever and that's it. And whatever comes up is fun. It's part of the enjoyment of the evening. And even when you don't win, it's a minor disappointment, actually. I think when we chant these names, the fact that we do them at all is the major action. And because we set those like printed in stone in us, and we can't destroy them easily because it's an invocation not to an outside deity, it's an invocation to our own real strength. Inside, we're calling it up. For example, with Manjusri Bodhisattva, we're calling up our ability to cut through ignorance with his sword. And through Avalokiteshvara, we're calling up our own compassion towards others. What links us to many turning into one. When we call up Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, we are calling up our ability to have a shining practice. A practice without ego, but a practice for everyone. And what is the other side is enlightened activity Bodhisattva. When we call on Samantabhadra, we're calling up our own ability to perform true action, not just action to gain something, but action because it's just a pure action with no intent other than to just do it like chanting or bowing or outside when you're working, whether you're working to get money or whether you're just working because that's the right thing to do, to keep your mind turning over rather than sitting nowhere. Anyway, I'm having a hard time explaining it today. I must be half asleep.
No, it's perfectly cool.
Actually, I bought a cup of coffee to wake me up.
Rachel?
Thank you, Jane. I don't have a lot of experience with casinos, but it's kind of fun to other people win. If you just even walk through one, that's more what and you hear someone squealing, I mean, it is kind of fun to see someone else joy. Um, I mean, even if you're sitting there thinking your practice is lousy, when you see, I don't know, some self-satisfied smile on someone else's face, I think that's kind of nice. But my is, I mean, it's sort of a joke, but not completely. In it's always weighted in the house's favor. I think they've proven that over and over again. So is the house Buddha nature? And so no matter what happens, we're
one step closer.
We're under benevolence.
Yes, yes. and we're invoking all of this activity in that we actually have in us, as well as the lineage. We're invoking that in our lives. We chant to it often enough, and in our ceremonies, our Jukai ceremonies, we invoke the lineage very strongly. But all of that is already in us, and it's our strength. The strength of practicing one person to another, connecting from many to one. Chris?
I was just thinking how there's, I haven't been in many casinos, but I've been in some casinos and I've seen videos of people, well, they'll just sit at a slot machine and then just over and over, quarter, pull the thing, quarter, pull the thing. I was thinking, that's some real perseverance, and that's a good example to take towards our Zen practice, is to have that kind of perseverance in our Zen practice, just not to discouraged if we do one session of Zazen and don't get 3 gold bars. And what's more, and I don't know why, but it seems like, because if you're playing a slot machine, it's just a numbers thing. You stay there and you put enough quarters in, you're going to get some kind of payout maybe. And what's different for Zen practice is you do actually increase your quote unquote odds, if we're going to, stretch the metaphor, of 3 gold bars or just stronger practice in general, the more we put in time. And it seems like it's almost easier for the people who are playing the numbers game to sit through lots and lots of disappointment in order for, chasing the promise of some kind of payout based solely on chance, when we're doing something like Zen practice, which does strengthen the more we put into it. It can somehow be more, or we can be more easily discouraged to give up if we feel like we're not getting anywhere. And that's just kind of a weird, and I'm comparing 2 selected groups from both examples, but those are just some thoughts that I had about the slot machine analogy.
When Jane and I would drive around the Southwest, once or twice, we'd be driving and we'd go to Las Vegas just for lunch. And then they give you, at that point, $5. Now I think it's 20 probably to play. But this is back 20 years ago probably. Anyway, Jane and I both had that house money, and Jane hit the jackpot. So I don't know if she remembers the gold bars or not, but she Well, she had all. In our case, we were playing for nickels, so, it wasn't a big financial victory, but it was fun to see it happen anyway.
It was our vacation time. Yeah. Food there was really, really good, and it was free because they were enticing people to
It
stay.
was pretty-
Well, I thought it was.
Maybe
Well,
it's
it was
not
very
important.
cheap then. But we had like an unbelievable cheesecake.
But that's the end of our last week. You drive
was-
in, go to casino, have lunch, and drive away.
That was our big time off.
1 hour in the casino.
Then we came back to Zen Center, or sitting again.
No, we don't have cheesecake,
Mike?
but we try and entice people to stay with tea and cookies.
Maybe we should try tea and cheesecake.
Or some very nice basmati rice and dal or something.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. Yes, Mike, your hands up and down?
There was one other thing I wanted to bring up, and I'm not sure if it's related, but your talk about our practice reminded me of the horse and the whip story about, one horse just needs to even knows where to go. Another horse needs to see the shadow of the whip. The third horse has to feel the whip, just touch it. The fourth, feel the whip hardest. And that the horse that needs to be whipped the hardest will turn out to be the better horse after a long practice. And it kind of made me think about that when you're talking about doing the bodhisattva vow and everything and how you have to persevere and stuff. And that, you don't judge your practice. And that, in a way, it's kind of reminded me of that parable about the horses that, yeah, you may have to work at it really hard for a really long time and get, all that. But that actually may make the practice even better and stronger. And so chanting the bodhisattva vow, yeah, we may not do it right. We may not have your head focused into it. And that struggle actually helps you to make it more effective and more at work. I run out of words here, but it makes it happen because of the work that you put into it. So that if you do struggle, it doesn't mean you're bad at what you do. It just means you have to struggle. That's all.
Thank you, Mike. That's a good point. And so if you have to struggle, consider yourself to be the fourth horse. Maybe we all are the fourth horse. And that's why we're still around.
Sandy?
Ever since, when I first started practicing and started doing the full moon ceremony, I really liked doing it. It left me with a good feeling. I liked the way I was able to, the first part, all my twisted karma, to be able to just say that and feel like I was releasing it. And I couldn't understand why all these people would get up and leave.
Your mic's muted, Sandy.
You somehow turned your mic off with your hands there.
Oh, okay. When I first started practicing and learned, we were doing the full moon ceremony once a month. I really enjoyed doing it. I related to it, and I felt a sense of especially the first part, being able to, get to talk about all my twisted karma and all the things that I could do better, to stop actually accumulated karma, that I could live a different life, a better life. And so I absolutely enjoyed it. But the thing that really amazed me was that we had so many people that would come, and the minute they announced the full moon ceremony, they'd be up and out the door. They wouldn't even stay for a semblance of it. They just wanted to go. They didn't want to do it.
They
And
were the ones that ran to the shadow of a whip.
yeah, but it's always been one of my favorite chants, uh, because it it opens you a feeling of openness and lightness after you go through it. At least that's my impression of it. That it's like talking to a therapist, kind of. It kind of takes your weight off your shoulders, and it's a good feeling when you're done chanting it. At least in my practice, it is. So, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
I think so.
I guess it's time to do the full moon ceremony.